live with Charlie Martin. Charlie, what a pleasure it is to have you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Ian. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I must admit, I'm a little bit chilly. I've just been through a big cycle, so I'm sat with my back to the radiator in my kitchen, just warming up. But I'm otherwise, not too bad, not too bad.
So staying in shape, ready for when we do get back out on track. I'm very and a little bit envious, if I'm totally honest with you. I've been doing a bit of running myself, but cycling, I'm not a cyclist at all, Charlie. I'm afraid. I need my feet, not two wheels. In fact, I'm not much of a driver either, really, which is why it's great to have you on the show.
I'm sure you're being modest. To be honest, I came to the realization that I've never actually owned my own bike. I've always had bikes that were handed down from my brothers growing up. So coming into lockdown, I had I'm a really keen runner, but I had a few running injuries that flared up from having to run on roads. And I decided to buy a bike, and that has become my daily sole source of exercise, really. So I'm getting into the cycling right now. Hoovering up the miles.
Superb. Well, look, just to introduce the show then for everybody, we're doing a series of these drive time calls with a number of race drivers, but we just wanted to dig a little bit deeper, Charlie, because you've got a fascinating story. Of course, you're a very inspirational person, of course. So what we really want to do today is we want to talk about your rise in motorsport. We've got some questions we want to ask you as well, and if anybody does have a question, please do comment. We can see the comments, so if you've got something you'd like to ask Charlie, please do say that, and we'll put that to you, Charlie, if you don't mind. That would be great. And of course, we want to know about the challenges faced as you're making your way through the ranks. I know you're involved in sim racing as well, so we're going to touch on that also. So look, let's start at the beginning, shall we, Charlie? How did you actually get involved in motorsport? What sparked the bug for you?
I would say it was certainly a really good friend of mine at school called Hamish Bibby, whose dad, Greg, was a racing driver, and he raced Morgan three-wheeler, and occasionally a few motorbikes. And so the Morgan was it was a really cool little car, and we used to go away with him at weekends, I guess from the age of about 8-9 years old, something like that. And I think I was just going over to Hamish's one weekend, and he said, "Oh yeah, you can come this weekend if you like, but we're going racing with my dad, so we're going to be going away, and we'll be camping, and
okay, cool.
You know, you're welcome to come along, but that's what we're doing." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty cool," and I just really enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of the racing that they did was with the kind of vintage clubs, and also they did some circuit races and some hill climbs and sprints. So I used to go away with them fairly regularly, and I got to see a lot of club motorsport up front. And I'll be honest, back then I probably didn't really understand a lot of like the class structures and things like that, but I just really loved being in that whole kind of environment. I found it really exciting.
That's fascinating, because we're sort of, I'm very similar too. It's the buzz, isn't it? And it's just the way that people sort of just seem to look after you, don't they? This is one thing I found in motorsport. We're relatively new into it. We're sort of 2 years now into it. This is our sort of second full season, I suppose. Well, I say full season. We've only been out once or twice this year already. But the way that everybody's kind of just warms to you and accepts you and brings you in almost as family, it's like a bug, isn't it? It just grips you and won't let you go. So when did you first get behind the wheel of a car then and think, yeah, I'm going to go racing?
I would have probably been, gosh, well, I mean, it was the year I left university that I decided to start, because throughout my teens, I grew up, I never got to do any karting. So, it just wasn't an option for me growing up. And so I played a lot of computer games on consoles. I had a PlayStation and then an Xbox, and so I grew up playing all those kind of like games like that. And I think that was my first introduction to racing in many ways. Like learning car control, because the dynamics and the models and the physics on those games, I think took a big leap forward in the sort of late 90s, early noughties. So that got me hooked, and I went along, saw some races and things. But I guess it was, Hamish started racing when he was 19, and I really started to change the way I looked at racing. And I thought, actually, this is something that, instead of being something that other people do, this is something that I can do. And it's just, it's just having the determination and the wherewithal to make it happen. So I left university, finished my graphic design degree, and decided that summer, I'm gonna go hill climbing, and because I'd seen hill climbs up close, and it looked like a very, you've got to remember, from the position of someone who doesn't have a family history of motorsport. I grew up without my dad. I lost my dad when I was 11. To cancer, so I never really had that sort of that relationship with someone in their family who's like, we'll do this together, this is how you rebuild an engine. It was literally just me on my own. So I was trying to figure out. So I was like, hill climbing seems like a good place to be, because it's pretty chilled out. It's a good level of competition, but it seemed quite manageable. So I decided, and I was like, Peugeot 205 seems like a good car to go for.
Oh yeah, great, crack a little car,
it's just so cool. I think, like, perfect. I wish I'd still got my 205. And
was it a GTI, Charlie? Was it the GTI?
Yeah, it was actually an MI16. So it was it was through Greg, actually. He knew a guy who'd been building one as a rally car. So this guy had put the MI16 engine. For anyone who doesn't know, that's the 16 valve version in the 1.9 GTI. So it has another 30 to 35 horsepower over the stock engine, over the 8 valve. So it's got 165 brake, which is quite a lot in one of those. So it got that engine, it got a roll cage, but then the guy had ripped everything out of it, and then it had just sat in a lockup for like 4 or 5 years. And I managed to get it for a really good price, but it was a total project. And I've never done anything like that, but I just thought, A, it's all I can afford, and B, I like the challenge, and so beggars can't be choosers. So there we go. And I remember it took me a year I remember getting it back to my mum's garage and just kind of looking at it, and just being a bit like, got my work cut out. But a lot of people, I think a lot of people in the village where I lived and people who knew me were like I remember going to my local pub, and there were a few people in there who worked at like a local karting track, and they were all a bit like, it was a bit cliquey, and they were just like, you're never going to finish that. That car's never going to see the light of day, and all this thing. And actually, that was probably the best thing, because I was just like, I'm so going to prove you wrong. Like, that was the determination that I needed to push it over the edge. And I sprayed it all myself. I was just like, right, watch me. Watch me make
I'm going to show you.
And I think that's it. I'm quite often something like that. If someone tells me no, then I'm like, right, I've got to make it happen. So it took me a year to do it all. I sprayed it all myself, and just started competing, really. It all began there. And that would have been something like 2004. I think my first race was a sprint at Kerbera Sprint Course. So, and I competed in hill climb in the UK for about 5 or 6 years. I moved up to a Westfield after a few years.
Wow!
That was a good car. I tried to get a Caterham. Everybody was like, get a Caterham, they're better. But again, like, I could afford a quite high spec Westfield for the price of a quite a low spec Caterham. So
am I right, Charlie? You're thinking Westfield's, it's a kit car, isn't it? Is it not a kit car?
It is a kit car. Yeah, it's kind of like a copy of a Caterham stroke Lotus 7 to a degree. Sorry if anyone at Westfield is listening and gets angry, but it's like,
very great cars, by the way. But yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's so many, like there's low costs and MK Indies and so many cars that have imitated the Lotus 7 because it is such a fantastic car and great car to learn with rear wheel drive. And yeah, it was mega. I got it. Mine was yellow, which I didn't really want a yellow car at first, but then it actually grew on me quite a lot. And that's the car that I went off to do my first race in France in 2014. And I took on a round of the French Hill Climb Championship and had an amazing result. I had my first outright class win and I broke the class record. And that just kind of sealed it for me. I was like, right, gotta go compete in France now because this is the place to be. So yeah.
So what brought you? Why France? What brought you over to? Now I know you went through a couple of changes and went over to France to compete. And what was that moment of your life like? What was that sort of like going from sort of racing in the UK? Going over to France because of a very personal change for you, and then coming back to the UK. What was that like?
Yeah, it was like a miniature odyssey, really. In every way, because it was like an adventure. It was a journey of self-discovery, and when I went, so I transitioned when I was. When was it? 2012 I started. So I I competed in the UK for 2 more years. And it was, it was tough going. I mean, nobody was ever like unkind to me, to my face or anything, but it was tough. The first year, I think certainly at the beginning of the season, like people just gave me a wide berth. People didn't know what to say and people just felt awkward. I felt awkward and it was really hard going because I think when people don't know what's the right thing to do or say and they just tend to hold back, then you can very easily interpret that as passive aggressive behavior and really they probably just don't want to say the wrong thing or upset you or whatever. But so yeah, I kind of like battled through that a little bit, and then I guess 2014, I started to really, or 2013, 14, I really started to find my feet and find a lot more confidence and believing in myself. I was driving better, I was getting better results, and I just I'd always heard of it. Like literally the year I started racing, I heard about this race in Gueno, which is this round of the French Hill Climb Championship. I'd always said, I'm going to go and do it. And I think that year I said to one of my friends that I raced with, Jerry Neary, who's a really good friend. He's always been like one of my biggest allies and supporters in racing. I was like, let's go race in France. Let's go do some Gueno. And he's like, yeah, let's go do it. Cool. So we went off. And I just, the thing is, because everybody in England had obviously known me before transition, and it got to a point where it wasn't an issue, it wasn't so much of an issue, but it was also a little bit like, you've always got that sort of kind of like a burden, I suppose, in a way. People always, people still misgendered me occasionally and things like that. And when I went to France, I speak French, so I did French to A-level at school, and I just
oui.
Bien sûr, pas de
problème. What is it? Non voulez pas français.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. There you go. I don't speak French.
and I think because I just connected with so many people over there straight away, and having the result as well that I had. I was in like the local papers. I was in like 2 of the local papers, and I just thought, you know, I guess to people over there, I was a bit of a novelty because I was this English girl that turned up, spoke the language, which in itself was quite unusual. And I was quite quick, and I just wanted to get to know everyone and have a good time and party a bit. And so, yeah, that was just a really incredibly liberating experience to be somewhere where actually I feel entirely like a new person. And as much as I wanted to go over there and race for the challenge of the actual driving, I think it was a massive part of me that also saw that as a way of growing as a person and becoming who we needed to be. And so it was 3 of the happiest years of my life competing over there. You know, the competition was amazing, and I just made so many friends who I've got to be honest, I really, really miss. You know, I was really looking forward to trying to catch up with a lot of people this year. But anyway, when I eventually, after a year, I told everyone I was trans, and it didn't make any difference. Everybody was just like, hey, it's a bit of a surprise, but like, it's no big deal.
Hey, you're still you, aren't you? You know?
Yeah, of course. And it's easy for me to say that now, but back then that was a really, really scary moment for me, especially when I'd really found so much acceptance and I didn't want to do anything that would potentially jeopardize that. And so when I reached the end of 2017, I decided, right, this is it. I want to go circuit racing. I'm going to come back to the UK. And I did the race at Le Mans on the Bugatti circuit. We came third. It's crazy. I was like, wow, okay. I'm standing on the podium at Le Mans in November. There's not many people, but I'm on the podium at Le Mans. Like, come on, check this out. So I thought, right, I've got to see where this goes now. I've got to try and compete at Le Mans for real. So I need to go back to England and you know, see what's next. And so, yeah, coming out in 2018 was really, really scary because on the one hand, I felt like I've done this before in France, but I've done this with people that all know me. And I have a really strong connection, a strong bond with. Whereas coming back to England, where I had no profile, nobody knew me in circuit racing and in kind of, you know, the motorsport media, and just being like, I'm Charlie Martin, I'm transgender, and I want to compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's like, you know, it's quite a big thing to go out there and just say that. So it was really scary, but I mean, the response was really, really amazing. So
the response has been superb. It's been fantastic, and you've actually kind of answered the question for me, which is where did that desire? Because I know the big goal for you, Charlie, isn't it? Is to compete at Le Mans, the Le Mans 24 Hours, the big one, isn't it? And was that always a goal, or did it really stem from your time in France?
I guess maybe it was always a goal, but I think it was a goal that developed over time, because I went to Le Mans 3 years running with my eldest brother, Alistair, and we went 2001, 2, 3. So the 3 years Bentley competed, and we saw Bentley win. And when I went to Le Mans, I mean, the first time I went, I'd never been to anything like that. And if you've not been to something like Le Mans where there's over 250,000 people, it's just so massive, and the scale of it, and it goes on a week and everything, and it just blows you away. And I thought there and then, gosh, you know, if I'm ever lucky enough to win the lottery, or find out I've got some crazy long lost uncle who leaves me a fortune or something, you know, whatever. But it was that pipe dream. We're
all hoping for that. I'm hoping for that.
I'm still pinning my hopes on it. So, I just really, you know, I just thought, yeah, this is as good as it could ever get to race here. I'm being a massive Francophile and loving France. And so, yeah, then going back and racing there and feeling like I kind of almost was a little, like, kind of, it's a bit cheesy, but being a bit like reborn in France, almost like restarting my life a little bit there. So yeah, then doing that race in November 2017, in the car that I'd been hill climbing all year, the 2-litre Norma prototype, the M20 FC, which was an incredible car. I yeah, I remember walking in. I remember walking into the pits for that race when I turned up with my kit bag over my shoulder, and I kind of thought back to 19-year-old me being here, soaked to the bone, probably sunburned, with my brother. No idea at that point in my life that I'm going to ever even become a racing driver. And I thought, I'm not only am I just walking to the pits casually with my race kit over my shoulder, I'm doing that as me. I'm doing that as the real me, and the person that I never thought I would become. And that is really, really surreal. I would never have dreamt in my wildest dreams that I could achieve something like that. And so I think to travel all that way and then to be on the podium at the end of the weekend, I just thought this, I don't know, I'm a big believer in fate, and I just thought this is a sign that I have to try and do this. I have to try and make this happen. It's too much of a fairy tale thing to not try.
And you're doing it, Charlie, aren't you? You are doing it, and that is, it's inspirational actually for anybody watching. To be fair, because it just goes to show, doesn't it? You don't have to have ultra rich parents who are going to pay your way into Formula One or whatever, because to get further up the ladder, it does cost a lot of money, doesn't it? But it also goes to show you don't have to go down the karting route. If it's something you want to do, you can do it. But it's not easy though, is it? You've got to challenge yourself, and you've got to push yourself, and especially the challenges you faced. It probably felt even doubly hard.
Yeah, it did, and it's also incredibly hard work. Like, I don't think people. I'm sure people in who work and race and in motorsport, because I think whatever a lot of people in motorsport, you do it because of the love of the sport, and you do have to put a huge amount in, but you get a huge amount back. And I think I'm sure we all collectively realize what we put into our careers and our passion, but I think also there's probably a lot of people that are perhaps not involved in motorsport that and I mean this in the nicest way, that probably just don't realize how much hard work it can be to try and forge a career, really, when, as you say, you don't have wealthy parents backing you, because finding the resources and the backing to go racing with it's a never-ending thing, really. And so it's and then you throw in all the other stuff as well, and it's not been easy. It's not been easy, but then I love it, and I must love it, because otherwise, why do I keep going? It's like
exactly.
And there is a big part of me that now feels like I've been very fortunate to, especially over the last few years, to have built up the platform that I have, and to be able to use that to inspire positive change in society is a really, really important thing. And I feel like actually whatever happens, that's something that I want to carry on working with and working at for the rest of my life, because I just want to try and help other people really have the opportunities that I've had in my life.
Yes, and I can tell you certainly do that. Some little lot of content I've seen. You inspire a lot of people, Charlie, and it's got to make everything worthwhile, hasn't it? And I can also tell you as well, we're getting a lot of love on social media as well. A few people you may know. Nicola Hodgson says, "Hey Charlie." Abigail Ball says, "Hey Charlie."
Hi,
Matt Fernandez. Fernandez says she says she speaks great French. Absolutely. Just not to me, because I understand it.
Well, Matt's a fluent French speaker, so he should know. So thanks, Matt. That's very kind of you.
And we've got a few questions coming in, if that's okay, Charlie. I've got Carlos Fandango has said, "Charlie, which drivers do you most admire?"
Oh gosh, that's a really interesting question. Actually, do you know who I would say I really admire? On Sunday, I watched a Netflix documentary called about a guy called Willie T. Ribs, and
Right. Okay.
I'd never heard of his story before.
No, you've caught me off guard here.
Yeah, literally Netflix documentary that came out this year, I think, literally really recently. Wow. And he raced, I suppose he started his race career in like the 60s, American guy, and he's black, and he suffered huge amount of opposition and challenges throughout his entire career. He was incredibly quick, and he just won anything he got into. And it's a really phenomenal documentary about how he just kept pushing and kept going and going. And I'd say
I'm going to write that down, actually.
Yeah, the documentary's called Uppity, and it's the Willie T. Ribs story. But yeah, I'd say him. I'd say Derek Bell is a driver that I've always looked up to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I had the privilege of meeting him about, probably 10 years ago or something at Chelsea Walsh, and he signed my helmet, which was really cool, and had a bit of fun with him. And Timo Bernhard, again, somebody that I had the fortune to meet, and we were both competing at Glasbach-Rennen, which is the German round of the European Hill Climb Championship. And he was a super cool guy, and he really helped me a lot throughout the weekend, because I'd had a 100-mile-an-hour crash into the side of a mountain 4 weeks before, and my confidence was in tatters. And he really helped me rebuild my confidence. And I finished from like having a panic attack in the car at the beginning of the weekend to finishing in third place ahead of some F3 cars. So it was really cool. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many drivers out there as well that I wish I had the time to learn more about motorsport history, because you just, you often don't know people's backstories. And I think those are the things that can really connect you to people.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying to you actually before we came on live. For us, and the point of drive time is it's about the people. You know, we want it to be about you. Charlie, I've got to say, I've had a lovely comment here from Dana. She says you are an amazing inspiration. So lovely words there from Dana. We've also had Matt Fernandez actually has commented again, saying your next season involves racing in Germany. How do you intend to catch in the future with Le Mans, the 24-hour?
How do I intend to?
He says, how do you intend to catch in the future with Le Mans?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, to be honest, the racing at the Nürburgring this year seemed like a really good trajectory to go on towards competing at Le Mans, because the plan this year, and well, I mean, it's what we're doing. I'll be going and competing in the Nürburgring 24-hour race, which is which is because of the number of cars that race on the track and the size of the track, you can compete in that race at a lower price point to going to race at Le Mans. So it seemed like a really good, incredibly tough race. And again, like I think it's over 200,000 spectators normally. I mean, obviously this year I don't know quite what's going to happen, but the point being that it just seemed like a really good series to go and get some great experience, and something that also from a media point of view can really help capture people's attention and build some more momentum behind my story, and help try and propel me onto doing Le Mans in who knows, next year or in the very near future. I certainly hope so. That was really a lot of the logic behind going and competing, and also just it's the Nürburgring. I mean, who doesn't want to go race on the Nürburgring? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I've never even driven it, so I couldn't have imagined racing it. So yeah, fantastic. Just so we've had another question come in as well. I quite like this one actually from Dylan Wynne Jones. The Northern European rally scene is brilliant, particularly Belgium. Ever fancied a crack at it?
I'd love to have a go at rallying. Yeah, I mean, actually, before I started hill climbing, I used to follow the WRC, and I loved watching it. Yeah, and I actually wanted to go into rallying before I wanted to go into hill climbing. And I was really really loving the idea of doing that. But again, it just seemed, of all the different things you could start off doing in motorsport, rallying just seemed, because you need a co-driver and you need a service crew, and it just, more cost, more complexity, more resources required. Hill climb just seemed like the most logical thing to start on. But I'd love to try rallying. I mean, in fact, who was I talking to recently? I'm sure I was talking to somebody, and they said you can come and have a test in a WRC car, and I was like, yes, please.
Yes, please.
I'd love to.
I'll be your co-driver, Charlie. I'll be your co-driver.
I think it was a passenger ride they offered me, but I'd still go for that, because it'd be fantastic. I'd love to experience it, and just I think just carrying that amount of speed down a gravel track would be quite exciting.
Trish Venables has commented, who do you think will replace Vettel at Ferrari? I mean, it's totally off subject, but do you have an opinion?
Isn't it going to be Ricardo? I don't know.
I've heard it's going to be Sainz. That's what I've heard. I've heard it's pretty nailed on. It's going to be Carlos Sainz.
Okay. I mean, whoever it is, they're going to have their work cut out against Leclerc, aren't they? But I mean,
aren't they just? However, for Sainz, it is a great seat, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't turn it down, would you? You wouldn't have to think twice. Let me think. No. Yeah.
Just so we've also had Lucas McKean's commented saying thank you for all you do for the transgender community. So a lovely comment there.
Hi, Lucas.
And Abigail Ball again has commented, and this leads us into what something else I wanted to talk to you about, if that's okay. It must be great to take part in the virtual racing. Are you enjoying it? Now, I know you're involved in Formula E sim racing at the minute. How did all of this come about, Charlie?
Yeah, I am. I'm really loving racing in the Formula E Race at Home Challenge supporting UNICEF. It's super cool. It's really happened in the best way, to be honest, because of course there's so many, everybody's gone into racing online in the wake of what's happened, and so I was thinking, I really want to race in a championship, and I'd previously done all my racing just on consoles, and around that time, that just before the launch, Formula E approached me and said, we'd love you to race in this championship if you'd be interested. And of course, I said, thank you. Yes, that would be really cool.
Absolutely.
And I think as well as just racing with them. I mean, I think it's really cool what they're doing, obviously working to support UNICEF and to help raise money to support children who've been affected by the COVID crisis. So that there's that added element to just being a part of a race series that's actually really helping people and supporting people's lives, which is amazing. And I think also to have a prize which, at the moment, I'm not looking like I'm going to win it, but to have the first place prize of actual guaranteed test time in a Formula E car this season is incredible, because I mean, what a unique prize, basically. So it's really cool, and I mean, the Formula E car is quite interesting to drive because it's the characteristics of hopefully they won't mind me saying this, but I think other people have drawn this comparison as well. It's quite like a big go-kart because of the way you have to drive it, and I guess to some extent also the nature of the circuits. they are all very tight street circuits, and there's quite a lot of corners that kind of double back on each other and stuff. So it's been tough because the challenge grid is pretty much made up of professional sim racers, and then there's a few people like myself. So the level, honestly, the level is just
insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing 2 or 3 hours practice a day. I mean, I'm really working hard to try and close the gap, but there's always this margin, and my objective is just to improve every round and get quicker and more consistent and stuff. But things like single lap qualifying, you've got to be a machine.
You've got to be on it, haven't you? You've got to be absolutely nailed on it, haven't you? When's the next race, Charlie? How do we watch it? When's the next race, and how do we watch it?
Yeah, so the races are every Saturday. All the races are broadcast live on Formula E's YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Just search #ABB Formula E or #RaceAtHome. And then the races are also broadcast on BBC iPlayer and Eurosport, but that's really just the regular drivers in the real world who race. Whereas all like both races, because there's 2 grids, there's 2 races that happen on every weekend. So really you want to see them. I'd say YouTube's been where I've been watching them. So you could just find Formula E's YouTube channel and watch it on there.
And there's one this Saturday, because I'm going to tune in and watch this.
Cool. Yes, please.
I'm going to tune in and watch it.
Yeah.
What time's it from?
Our race, the qualifying, I mean, it can vary, but the qualifying is normally about 20 to 4, and then our race is normally 4 o'clock.
Brilliant.
So I was robbed at the weekend. Just going to get that one in there.
I'm going to watch this replay back and find out what happens, and I'm going to drop you a message and let you know what I think. I agree with you. Whatever happens, you were definitely robbed.
Definitely robbed.
And that brings me into another question, actually. Trish Venables, again, has put another cracking comment in. She says, how do you think the sim racers would get on in a real race? What's your thoughts on that?
Controversial. No, I mean, I think the thing is that the people at that level, they put so much time and energy and dedication and years of practice to get to that level, that I think there are elements of driving a car in the physical world that would always be difficult to fully recreate in the virtual world, like adrenaline and fear and things like that. And that's not me criticizing. I think that's just a fact. So I think it's difficult to say, because I think obviously those guys have got so much skill and dexterity and coordination and control and everything else, and also consistency. I mean, that's the other thing. They're like a metronome, just like lap after lap after lap. But then I again, there's elements of if you say, okay, the best way I put it is like, for me, there's a big element of adjustment, trying to going for someone who races in the physical world, racing in the virtual world. And I think inevitably you would have that going vice versa. It stands to reason. But then equally, it doesn't mean that any of those guys couldn't be really fast. And I'm sure a lot of them would be. I mean, you've only got to look at Nissan GT Academy that found Jan Mardenborough, who became a Nismo works driver and still is, I think. So, it's been proven, I think, by other drivers as well, who've been taken from the sim world and put into the real world. So, yeah, I mean, it's in fact as well, Jimmy Broadbent, who is racing at the Nürburgring this year. And so that's going to be interesting, because we actually raced together in the first test race of the ABB Formula E Race Home Challenge, and he finished ahead of me. But we're not. So in the Nürburgring Endurance Series, you've got RCN, and then you've got NLS, which is the new VLN. So they kind of compete at different times, but essentially it's a similar kind of thing. So without getting too technical. But yeah, I mean, so that's going to be interesting seeing how he gets on in doing that. So yeah. Didn't
Now,
really
I remember.
Question? I don't know.
Controversial, but I always think with it, my opinion is that there's no fear of consequences there in computer side of sim racing. Now, I know I'm involved in esports with I won't go into too much details, but a couple of betting companies, and the dedication you see from the teams is sensational. They are very, very talented.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
But for motorsport, there is no consequence. If you go off into the tyre wall, it's not going to cost you your own money to fix the car or anything like that, and you can stay in a race. Whereas if you go off the track and hit a wall in a real race car, that's it. It's game over. You know, the one mistake is could be game over for you. Whereas in sim racing, I've seen. I mean, it's very popular at the minute. I've seen loads of it online, and I see all these championships and leagues coming on at the minute, and I see cars bouncing off the wall at 150 miles an hour, and they just carry on, and you're like, you've only lost about 3 seconds. It's incredible. But anyway, that's my lack of knowledge of the sim racing thing. What I do know though is you said earlier that you started a bit of a love affair of motorsport from playing computer games, playing the PlayStation. What was your favourite computer game on the PlayStation? What really got you into it? What was the game?
It'd be I'll be honest, it would be Gran Turismo, to be honest. I really loved Wipeout as well, which I don't know if you remember that. That was
Wipeout, yes.
Yeah,
that was one of
Wipeout.
the first ever. They were like those little gliders, weren't they?
Yeah, well, it was like right? There was like a race. It was like futuristic kind of racing.
Yeah.
And Wipeout 2 actually, which was even better because it was slightly easier to handle. And you get rockets and mines, and there were like things you went over that made you go quicker. I used to love Wipeout. Like literally, I felt like I was in the Matrix when I've been playing that for days. Like sat in front of the screen, just like. No, what's the end? It was the ending of that film, 2001. Where it just goes all like lights and it goes really trippy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That was like like what it felt like playing Wipeout for 8 hours straight. All the Gran Turismo games, and then Tocker as well. Colin McRae, Colin McRae Rally,
genius game, brilliant, brilliant. Colin McRae Rally. I remember when Gran Turismo came out, and it was just different level, wasn't it? It just completely blew everything out of the water, like from graphics, the cars, everything. Yeah,
it was such a game changer. It really was. It really was. And I'm trying to think, and I had some games as well on Xbox, like Project Gotham. I really loved that. That was cool. And then I think I had a load of the Tocker games, Tocker Race Car Driver on Xbox. And I think I just love racing games, I think.
This Formula E is perfect for it then, isn't it? Now look, Charlie, it's superb to have you obviously back in the UK, and we first met last year, didn't we, at Motorsport Days? You were you test driving, or you giving a Praga a go? Well, we've got a little video to show you of our interview actually. So I'm going to get Elaine, the editor now. Elaine, you could bring that video in. I'm just going to show you a clip of our interview from Motorsport Days 2019.
Hello everybody, I'm here with Charlie Martin, very special guest here at Motorsport Days. Charlie, first of all, how are you doing?
It's great to have you.
I'm good, thanks Ian. Yeah, really good, having a great day. Fantastic to be here for year 2 of this event, and a lot of seeing a lot of faces, some great cars. What more could you ask for?
It is a fantastic event, and it's only going to get bigger, so that's great. But let's talk about you, all right? Let's talk about your story in motorsport. You've had quite a unique journey. I know it's quite vague, but if you could take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I started racing, I guess, kind of late. I was 23 years old. Started off hill climbing, and
Listen, Charlie, just to interject there, I'm 34, and I still think I can make it. So I've got that right.
Hey, we've all got to keep pushing. And I started off hill climbing in the UK, and did that for something like 5 or 6 years before going off to France to compete in the French Hill Climb Championship and the European Hill Climb Championship. But before I went off to France, I reached a bit of a crossroads in my life. I'd always known from a very young age that I'm transgender. And so took the decision. I was at a point where I couldn't carry on really living the way I was, and it was a very scary process to change my gender and to do that in motorsport, to be honest, because I love motorsport, goes without saying, but it's I could never see anybody like me in motorsport growing up, and it's very daunting to
took the step to be who you are, really, and that's worth a lot of praise, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible process and an incredible feeling to be who you are, who you feel you are, and to live your life the way you want to live it. And I wouldn't change a thing, of course. I wanted to come out in a way that could use my profile in a way that would help other people. But yeah, use that as an opportunity to do two things, really: to inspire positive change in society, and to educate people, and also just to inspire and empower people to live their life as their true self without fear, to live authentically.
That was the first time we met, wasn't it? And are we going to see you back at Motorsport Days this year?
100%. Yeah. It's such a fantastic event, and I think the guys that organise it have really done a great job in terms of just having the vision to put an event together at that point in the year, and also just what they've achieved, in year one, and then in year two to see how it's growing and developing. And I mean, Silverstone's only it's under an hour away, so I think I'll definitely be there this year. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we will too. So we'll definitely have to go grab a cup of coffee or a beer, or well, it depends if you're driving or not, doesn't it?
Depends on the day it is.
Yeah, 8 a.m. maybe not. Look, one thing we like to do on Drive Time, Charlie, is we always like to say thank you to people, because we know motorsport, when you've got your helmet on, you're behind the wheel of the car. Yes, it is a lot about you, of course, but there's always people, and there's teammates, and there's friends, there's family, there's sponsors who have been there at certain times in our career. Is there any particular people you would like to give a bit of a shout out to, say a bit of a thank you to?
Yeah, a lot of people. How long have we got? I mean,
it's your show.
I mean, first my mum, because one, for just being incredible and inspiring me, and also lending me a few £100s to buy my 205, which was helped get me on my way. She never got to see me race it, unfortunately, but yeah. I think for my brothers, who I worked with for a long time and put up with me a lot, especially coming and going to France all the time. And they
love the holidays. They love the trips.
No, they never came. They just like, what do you mean you're going to France again? You've only just got back. Like, bye. See you in 5 days. And then I don't know, my friend Jerry Neary, who from UK Hill Climb, who just has been someone that's really stood by me all through Hill Climb, and a lot of my friends as well from those days. My friend Fabien Boudigon, he's been an absolute rock, and really helped me progress my career. And goodness knows, I mean, a lot of people, it's too many to think, but I think I'll probably just say those for now, really. I'm sorry if I've left anybody out.
No, so I kind of put you on the spot with that one, didn't I? A little bit there. Now, look, Charlie, I really appreciate your time this evening. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It really is. And I could actually go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. I really, really could. But look, let's just, before we do end this, let's just talk about the future. Yes, 2020 is kind of in disarray, but there are signs that we might be getting back potentially in July. What does the rest of the year hold for you?
Well, I mean, our first race is currently scheduled for the end of June. So
fantastic.
Yeah. And so at the moment, everything that I've been told is very much that is going ahead and that's going to happen. So I'm just trying to find out, in terms of travel and things like that, because ordinarily I would drive to the Nürburgring. So I would drive on the Eurotunnel through France, through Belgium into Germany. So I need to do some checks to make sure that I'm going to be able to complete that journey. I don't know, in terms of travel restrictions and quarantines and things like that. So
you better leave now then, if you have to quarantine for 2 weeks in every country.
I know. Oh. Yeah,
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I know. I'll just ask really nicely in French.
Yeah. Well, you speak great French, so you'll be fine.
Thank you. Vous êtes très gentil.
Oui. Merci beaucoup.
I think certainly, certainly getting back to racing. I'm really, really looking forward to that. It does feel a bit strange because, we were literally at the point of, I went over to the Nürburgring and did my permit course, did my first test, and I was meant to be racing the next weekend, and then that's when everything stopped. So to get to that point of like absolute readiness and preparation, and then stop, and then it's a bit weird now in time in terms of trying to get ready, and it's going to work out, but it's not the usual feeling. So yeah, really just doing everything to get ready for racing, focusing on that, and hopefully, obviously June is Pride Month worldwide. So there's obviously Pride is going to be different this year. So I'm talking to some people at the moment about things and activations that are happening around Pride, which are exciting. And beyond that, I'd like to take a holiday at some point, but I don't know how that's going to happen at the moment. I think just. I'm looking forward to trying to see friends whenever we're in a situation that we can do that safely and without putting anyone at risk. I'm just, I'm quite good at keeping strong, but I think this week I had a bit of a moment where I just sort of felt a bit like, just missing people a bit, really. So I'm looking forward to seeing the people in my life that I care about.
Yeah. And that's why we're doing these as well. It's just nice. It's just nice to talk sometimes, isn't it? Really, we can just talk about anything, really.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
have to be, just pick up the phone, or do a call, do a video call.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just knowing this week that things are being eased off a little bit, and I've spoken to my family, but I've not seen them for quite some time now. So just like everybody, we're all in the same boat right now, aren't we? We're all just trying to focus on the good times to come, I think.
Yes, no, absolutely, and like I said, there's been a lot of love on social media. So, look, a massive thank you to everybody who's watched, everybody who's commented as well. Thank you once again for watching, and apologies to those comments we didn't manage to get read out, but we'll go through them after, and I'm sure Charlie, you'll have a little look at some of their comments in there. It's been a real pleasure. It always is. I can't wait to see you trackside sooner rather than later. It will happen this year, and I'm going to watch this Saturday as well, your Formula E race, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So look, Charlie Martin, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Stay safe, won't you? Watch out for that whopping great mirror behind you. I hope it's stuck to the wall with double-sided tape and nails and everything.
I hung it there about 12 years ago, so.
It's still there now. Should be all right.
Still there.
Look, take care, won't you? And it's been a real pleasure. And over to you.
Thanks ever so much, Ian. It's really been a pleasure to come on the show, and thanks everyone for watching in tonight. Stay safe, stay strong, and thanks again.
Perfect. Lovely. That's a wrap. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.